you want to be?
I would like to be, yeah, because I'm basically, a 50s rock and roll singer.
Tom Jones, the Welsh legend, stole hearts with his powerful voice and electrifying performances. From It's Not Unusual to Delilah, his hits have spanned decades, earning him fame worldwide. Known for his iconic style and thrilling Vegas shows, Jones captivated millions. Yet behind the fame were deep personal struggles, scandals, and a love story that endured for nearly 60 years. But what happened in the final chapter of this extraordinary life? Early life. Tom Jones was born Thomas John Woodward on June 7, 1940, in a small house at 57 Kingsland Terrace in Treforest, Wales. His father was a coal miner, and his mother Frida was a homemaker. The family's roots were a mix of Welsh and English, a blend that would become part of Tom's identity as he grew up. Life in Wales wasn't glamorous, but it was real. The grit, the community, the hard work, it all shaped who Tom would become. From an early age, Tom showed signs of a rare gift. He didn't care much for school or sports, but singing? That's where he found his confidence. At family gatherings, weddings, and even in the school choir, Tom's voice would rise above the rest. It was powerful, soulful, and full of passion. But then, life took a hard turn. At the age of 12, Tom was diagnosed with tuberculosis. For 2 years, he was bedridden, his world reduced to his room and his imagination. It was the worst time of my life, he later recalled, but music became his escape. With nothing to do but listen to records and draw, Tom's love for singing only grew deeper. By the time he recovered, he was a different boy, more determined, more in love with music than ever before. And it wasn't long before he started making moves. Early career. In 1963, Tom became the frontman for a local Welsh band called Tommy Scott and the Senators. They weren't big time, but they were local legends in South Wales. The crowds loved them, and Tom's booming voice set him apart. Word began to spread about the singer with the big voice, but despite recording a few tracks with producer Joe Meek, success didn't come easily. It wasn't until Decca producer Peter Sullivan caught one of their gigs that things started to shift. But even then, the road wasn't smooth. The band recorded a few songs, but nothing caught fire. Then, Tom met Gordon Mills, the man who would change everything. Mills wasn't just a manager, he was a visionary. He saw something in Tom, something that could go beyond the local clubs of Wales. He brought Tom to London and gave him a new identity. Gone was Tommy Scott. He became Tom Jones, named after the popular 1963 film. It was a name that would stick, but it was Tom's voice that would make him famous. Mills worked tirelessly to land Tom a record deal, and in 1964 they struck gold with Decca Records. The first single, Chills and Fever, came out later that year, but it flopped. No one seemed to notice. The pressure was on, but they didn't give up. Then came It's Not Unusual. This was the track that would catapult Tom into the spotlight, rise to fame. In early 1965, after some heavy promotion from Radio Caroline, the song exploded. It hit number 1 in the UK, and soon after, it broke into the top 10 in the United States. Suddenly, Tom wasn't just a local singer, he was a sensation. The hits didn't stop. That same year, Tom recorded the theme song for the James Bond film Thunderball and the quirky, unforgettable What's New Pussycat, written by Burt Bacharach and Hal David. Tom wasn't sure about singing such a crazy song at first. When I first heard it, I thought, what the bloody hell do they want me to sing this for? But Bacharach convinced him. And when Tom belted out that signature chorus, it became another classic hit. By 1966, Tom Jones was a household name. His powerful baritone voice was everywhere, and he even took home a Grammy for Best New Artist that year. But just as fast as he'd risen, the tides of fame started to shift. The British invasion was in full swing, and Tom's popularity started to fade slightly. It wasn't that his voice had lost its edge, but the landscape of music was changing. Tom needed a new direction. That's when Gordon Mills came to the rescue again. Mills had a plan. He reshaped Tom's image, moving him from the wild rock and roll singer to a crooner, someone who could appeal to a broader audience. The change worked. Tom began recording more mature material, blending his soulful voice with ballads and love songs, and it wasn't long before he was back on top. Over the next few years, Tom released hit after hit. Songs like I'll Never Fall in Love Again, I'm Coming Home, and Delilah became anthems. In the UK, Delilah shot to #2 on the charts, and it became one of the most iconic songs of his career. Tom's voice, powerful and filled with emotion, made each track stand out. Superstar. In 1967, Tom Jones stepped into the dazzling world of Las Vegas for the first time, performing at the Flamingo. This marked a major turning point in his career. The glitzy, high-energy atmosphere of Vegas suited his persona perfectly, and the audience fell in love with his larger-than-life stage presence. Soon, his performances became legendary. Tom wasn't just singing anymore, he was creating a spectacle. His half-unbuttoned shirts, tight trousers, and open-chested look became iconic, adding a layer of sensuality to his powerful voice. Vegas became his second home, and from that point on, he performed there at least 1 week each year until 2011. But Jones didn't just stop at live performances. Between 1969 and 1971, he became a household name, thanks to his own television variety show, This Is Tom Jones. Broadcast in the UK and the US, it was worth a staggering $9 million at the time, an astronomical amount, especially for a Welsh boy who once dreamed of just being heard. The show was filled with duets, comedy skits, and Jones's signature charm, helping him remain in the public eye while he churned out hit after hit. The audience couldn't get enough of him, and the series even earned him a Golden Globe nomination. Tom's popularity, however, began to take a dip in the mid-1970s. The hits that once dominated the charts didn't seem to land the same way, and the music industry was changing. But Jones wasn't ready to fade away. Always a fighter, he turned to country music, and his transition paid off. His 1976 single, Say You'll Stay Until Tomorrow, shot to the top of the U.S. country charts, proving that his talent wasn't limited to any one genre. Jones was always able to reinvent himself when necessary, and this adaptability kept his career alive. Around the same time, Tom also tried his hand at acting. Though his first planned film debut in Yakawald fell apart when the production ran out of money, he eventually made his acting debut in the 1979 television movie Pleasure Cove. It was a different side of Tom Jones. The smooth, suave con man character he played had people talking. Then tragedy struck his life when his longtime manager and friend Gordon Mills passed away from cancer in 1986. It was a devastating blow for Jones. Mills had shaped his career, guided him through both highs and lows, and was largely responsible for the Tom Jones the world had come to know. After his death, Tom's son Mark took over as his manager. Together, they formed a new dynamic team, and it wasn't long before Tom's career was back on the rise. In 1987, Jones re-entered the UK charts with A Boy From Nowhere, which reached #2. The following year, he had another hit with a cover of Prince's Kiss, recorded with the electronic group Art of Noise. This was a huge moment for Jones. The song's modern, funky sound combined with his classic, powerful voice created something fresh and exciting. The music video was a hit on MTV, and the song climbed the charts in both the UK and the US. This was a major comeback, and Jones found himself appealing to a younger generation. By the 1990s, Tom's career had fully resurged. He received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and collaborated with none other than Van Morrison. He also made an appearance at the UK's Glastonbury Festival, where he performed in front of thousands of fans, reminding everyone why he was still a force to be reckoned with. He even popped up in popular sitcoms like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and The Simpsons, showing that his cultural relevance was still alive and well. Jones kept up the momentum by releasing his 1999 album Reload, a collection of cover duets featuring collaborations with artists like Robbie Williams, The Cardigans, and Portishead. It became one of the most successful albums of his career, selling over 4 million copies and topping the charts in the UK. The single Sex Bomb became a massive hit, its playful energy making it one of Jones's most famous songs. But Tom wasn't just about fun and games. As the new millennium began, he was honored for his contributions to music with a Brit Award for Best British Male. He performed for U.S. President Bill Clinton at the Millennium celebrations in Washington, D.C., proving that his appeal extended far beyond the UK. Always willing to push the boundaries, he recorded a new album, Mr. Jones, in 2002, with the help of Haitian-American rapper Wyclef Jean. It was a departure from his usual style, but again Tom showed that he was never afraid to experiment. In 2006, Jones was knighted by Queen Elizabeth II, a crowning achievement for the boy from Treforest, Wales. With a career that had spanned decades, sold over 100 million records, and produced countless iconic moments, Sir Tom Jones had officially become a living legend. As he entered his 70s, Tom didn't slow down. He took a seat as a coach on the hit talent show The Voice UK, mentoring young singers and sharing his wealth of experience. His charm and wisdom made him a fan favorite, and he stayed with the show for several seasons. In 2010, he released Praise and Blame, an album of gospel and blues songs that showcased the raw power of his voice. The critics loved it, and it peaked at number 2 on the UK charts, proving that even after all these years, Tom could still deliver something new and exciting. His later albums, including Spirit in the Room and Long Lost Suitcase, continued to show the depth and range of his talent. Each album was filled with soul, blending blues, gospel, and rock in a way that only Tom Jones could pull off. The releases coincided with his autobiography, Over the Top and Back, where Tom shared the ups and downs of his career with honesty and wit. In 2021, Tom surprised everyone yet again with his album Surrounded by Time, which featured covers of songs by artists like Bob Dylan and Todd Snider. It was a reflective album, with Tom opening up about aging, loss, and life. His rendition of I'm Growing Old was particularly moving, revealing the vulnerability beneath his larger-than-life persona. And despite being well into his 80s, Tom still performed with the same energy and passion he had in his younger years. In 2022, he took to the stage at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff, his booming voice filling the arena and thrilling fans old and new. Tom and Linda. Tom Jones's love life has been just as captivating as his career. At the heart of it all was his childhood sweetheart, Melinda Rose Trenchard, known simply as Linda. Tom and Linda's story started when they were just 12 years old, walking to school together in their small hometown of Treforest, Wales. By the time they were 16, Linda was pregnant, and the two decided to marry in a simple ceremony at Pontypridd Register Office. From that day in 1957, they were inseparable, even if their relationship was far from conventional. As Tom's career skyrocketed in the mid-1960s, Linda largely remained out of the spotlight. While he was touring the world and recording some of the biggest hits of the decade, Linda stayed home, raising their son Mark and holding down the fort. She was the steady presence in his life, the one constant through all the fame and chaos. But Tom wasn't exactly the picture of fidelity. By his own admission, Tom Jones had affairs with hundreds of women at the height of his fame, boasting that he'd slept with up to 250 women a year. His performances in Las Vegas, with the tight pants and half-unbuttoned shirts, only added to his persona as a heartthrob. Women would throw their underwear on stage, and Tom, ever the charmer, would play right along. Despite his marriage to Linda, Tom indulged in numerous affairs, some more public than others. One of the most notable affairs was with Mary Wilson of the Supremes in the late 1960s. The two carried on a 2-year relationship, but things came to an abrupt end when Linda discovered what was going on. Tom claimed that Linda was furious when she found out, and in true Welsh fashion, she wasn't afraid to confront him about it. But despite the infidelities, Linda stood by him, even when another high-profile affair made headlines in the early 1970s. In 1973, Tom had a public fling with Miss World Marjorie Wallace, which became a tabloid sensation. Wallace was stripped of her title due to the scandal, and the press had a field day with the details of their affair. Yet when Linda found out, it wasn't just the press Tom had to answer to, he had to face his wife. When Tom told Linda the truth, she lashed out, hitting him in a fit of rage. But, once again, she chose to stay. Tom ended the affair, claiming that no one was more important to him than Linda. The relationship took another major hit in 1987, when Tom had a brief affair with American model Catherine Berkery. This time, there were lasting consequences. Berkery became pregnant, and a DNA test later confirmed that Tom was the father of her son, Jonathan. Despite this, Tom refused to have a relationship with the child, maintaining that the affair was a mistake and that he had been tricked. Jonathan, now in his 30s, has reportedly never met his father, and Tom remained largely silent on the matter for years. When asked about it in 2008, Tom admitted the affair but stopped short of reconciling with his son. Despite the countless affairs, Linda and Tom's marriage held strong. Linda was described as fiercely private, rarely attending public events with Tom or accompanying him on tours. She preferred to stay at home, far from the glitz and glamour that surrounded her husband. In the late 1980s, they purchased a mansion in Wales, and Linda focused on creating a quiet, secluded life for the two of them. Though they lived in Los Angeles for much of their later years, Linda always struggled with homesickness. She missed Wales and the simplicity of the life they once had. As Tom continued to tour and record music, Linda became more reclusive, often declining to travel with him. But despite the physical distance at times, their emotional bond remained. Tom once described Linda as the most important thing in my life, even admitting that he couldn't bullsh *** her because they shared the same Welsh roots and values. In 1999, when Tom released the hit album Reload, he recorded a song that served as a tribute to his wife. The song, The Road, spoke of their long journey together and the deep love he had for her despite the rocky moments. "All that I know is wherever I go, the road always returns to you," the lyrics say, reflecting Tom's realization that no matter how far his fame took him, Linda was always at the center of his world. Linda death. But in 2016, their love story took a heartbreaking turn. After a long battle with lung cancer, Linda passed away. Tom was devastated. He had been with her for 59 years, and losing her was the hardest thing he'd ever faced. In interviews following her death, Tom revealed just how much Linda meant to him. She had been his foundation, his anchor. When Linda died, Tom said he felt like he had lost a part of himself. He even admitted that he wasn't sure if he could continue performing without her. But in her final moments, Linda encouraged him to keep going, telling him not to crumble with her. One song in particular became a poignant symbol of their love. "I Won't Crumble With You If You Fall," a cover Tom recorded in 2021, was inspired by Linda's words. The song speaks of being there for someone in their darkest hour, but having the strength to carry on. For Tom, it was a way to honor Linda's memory and her wish for him to continue doing what he loved, singing. After Linda's death, Tom moved back to the UK, fulfilling her last wish for him. He left behind the mansion in Los Angeles that she had decorated, explaining that he no longer felt comfortable there without her. Tom's performances became a way for him to cope with the grief, and he often spoke about how he felt Linda's presence with him every time he stepped on stage. In the years since her passing, Tom has made it clear that Linda was the love of his life, and he would never marry again. "There's no history with anybody else," he said in an interview. Despite the fame, the affairs, and the glamorous life he led, Linda was always the one he came back to. Their marriage was far from perfect, but in the end, it was real. For Tom, the legacy of his love for Linda continues through his music. Even now, as his voice has deepened with age, he sings with the same passion and emotion that first captured hearts in the 1960s. He may have sung for millions, but only one woman ever truly owned his heart. If you enjoyed this story, Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content.